Welcome to Angelo's Tennis, and in this video I'm going to talk about tennis books. Now there's probably hundreds if not thousands of tennis books out there and tennis publications, but in this video I'm just going to narrow down maybe 10 or 12 books that I find to be the essential books, the best books. And again, there's many other books you can read. I've read most of them. I'm sure there's some that came out in the last 5 years that I haven't read. And I just, I really don't see, honestly, I don't see anything necessary outside of these books. I mean, it's a square, you're playing tennis, there's a ball, it's a square, you have these rackets, strings. I mean, not much is going to change anymore about tennis as far as I'm concerned. So let's get into it. First book I'm going to mention is and I'll put these books up on the screen. Most of them you can get from Amazon. So we have this is my number one book, Advanced Techniques for Competitive Tennis. In my opinion, very difficult to understand. It took me like 3 or 4 years to really implement and understand. But what it does is it gets into the principles behind tennis development. It takes you through the coach's and the author's whole process of developing a tennis player from a young child to an advanced adult player. And that is the main reason why this book is number one, because if you follow, I do think there's an individual path obviously for each person, but if you have this book and you have someone, like let's say it's yourself, who wants to learn, and you do these exercises, more likely than not, you will reach the peak of your ability and you will improve. But as I said, I don't think that, all these books are necessarily for everyone. I do appreciate and respect, the learning process is different for most people, but this author is really trying to narrow it down to the principles of learning. And here we have the competitive tennis for young players. I did a video on both of these two books specifically, and I'll probably do more individual videos for the rest of these books as well. So check that out, because I get into and show you the inside of this book. In that other video, it's Competitive Tennis for Young Players. And this is the same author, and in this one he really gets into the competitive tournament process for a young tennis player. So you have the other book gets into the theory and the practice of developing a player, and this gets into the competition and the development through competition for a young tennis player. It lays out guidelines for how many tournaments to play, how many tournaments or matches is too much, how many are too little. That's my number two book, and those two books really are for, well, especially in combination, for really advanced players. The first book, there's better books out there, which I'm going to get into, for beginners and developing young players that aren't serious. But that one you could use for both serious and non-serious players, although I think these two books really are for serious players, serious learners. So let's get into the ITF website. So if you go to itftennis.com and then specifically look for ITF, I think it's itf-academy.com. They used to sell these books in hard copies, and I had all of them. I lost them, unfortunately, and but they turned them into ebooks over time, and now I think you can't even it's really hard to even get a hard copy of these. But these are, a lot of them are, not all of them, but a lot of them are very thick books. So let's look at some of them here. If you go to their website, you sign up. I think it's free to sign up. Might be $10 for these books now, where I paid like $40 or $50 for them, for each one. So we have the Strength and Conditioning for Tennis. Not really an essential book. There's nothing great in there, but if you're interested in strength and conditioning for tennis, anything by the ITF is really all you need. So pick that up if you're interested in that. the biomechanics of advanced tennis. All these people on YouTube that are obsessed with the slow motion and what it looks like, and this is a book for you. I had this book. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's essential. That green book by Shinborn, he gets into the mechanics from a player standpoint but if you're interested in what it looks like and what you can see the guy on the cover with his, where that's the mosquito, Alcaraz's coach. You can see his muscles. If you're interested in that, that's covering all of that. And then you have the ITF developing young tennis players. This is probably my number three or four here. Developing young tennis players. There's so much good stuff in this book, and it's a small book. This is a smaller book. If you're working with a teenager from age 10 to 14, this is the book for you. Even if you're not that serious, just if you're working with or you have a kid, your son or your daughter between the ages of 10 and 14, this is an excellent, fun book. A lot of cool stuff in there. Then we have tennis psychology. See Murat Safin on the cover, and you see there 200 plus practical drills and the latest research. Again, I don't think this is necessary for a lot of people, but if you're into tennis psychology, or if you're having trouble with a junior or just a person in general, and you want to play these games that they have, these drills, there's a lot of ideas in here. This is a very thick book. I'm not really putting these in order, but I would pick up all these books if I was a serious tennis learner. So here we have more of the ITF books and the ITF technique development and tennis stroke production. If you're interested in what a tennis stroke is, how it's developed, some more ideas that are not in the other books. This book is for you. It's a small book. It's going to get into what these coaches think about grips, what they think about stroke production. Lots of new and different ideas in there as well. And pretty much all these books, they do repeat things, but all these books are going to give something in them that you've never heard before, that are not in the other books, or a different approach or a different perspective that aren't in the other books. So if you don't like one of them, or if you have a hard time following them, you can jump to one of these other books and you might enjoy them more, and then come back to the other books as you expand your awareness. And here they're giving this book away here, the ITF Advanced Coaches Manual. And this is what I think I was interested in, and what most people were interested in. You see the Andy Roddick there on the cover, and it's exactly what it says, the Advanced Coaches Manual. This is for college players up to pro. ITF, what they're covering everything here. They're interested in developing young children. They're interested in developing professional players, because this doesn't really have to do with just the United States. They work with small countries in trying to develop their tennis programs. So this book covers all the things you can think of top world-class professional tennis, including training and health and nutrition and things like that. And this is probably my third, fourth, or fifth favorite tennis book. It's Coaching Beginner and Intermediate Tennis Players. And this book is thick, and it is packed with amazing tennis information. Don't let the cover mislead you, and the coaching beginner players, and it gets into play and stay, quick start, the use of the balls, etc. And if you ignore this book, like I said, I think everyone has their own journey, and they can, I do believe that you can get to a certain place with certain information. You don't have to have all of it, but if you're looking to be a really amazing coach or a parent, this book is essential. Don't let the cover mislead you. I think play and stay is essential. I think if you're coaching one-on-one, you can get away with not using play on stay. But if you're working with groups and you're working with a lot of children, or if you really want to have a kid who enjoys tennis, you got to use the tools, the court sizes, the smaller court sizes, the balls, the different balls. And that's why this book could even be my number one of my number one tennis books. I mean, if you saw the book I had, things like this thick, and I had it marked up, like it looked like this book, but wait, this is a different book I have that's all marked up, and you know, it was beat up way more than this book. So we have another one here, Momentum, The Hidden Force in Tennis by Alistair Hyam. Very small book. Talks about momentum in tennis and how, if you watch some of these matches, you see, a guy will go on a string of like winning like 4 games in a row, and then he'll lose 3 games in a row, and then, or like a guy will win 6-0, and then the next set he'll lose 6-3. This book talks about that type of hidden energy. That's just what it says, the hidden force in tennis that so many great players have mastered, and that's why this could be the real reason why guys like Federer and Nadal are winning so many matches. This one here, Competitive Tennis, another Meyer & Meyer Sport production. Competitive tennis training exercises with Kornikova on there. There's another version with a different player on the front, and this is just going to it has like the court and the diagrams on how to play certain patterns, exercises you can play to get proficient at certain patterns, like the idea of like a simple one, cross court down the line, or a cross court, one player plays cross court, the other one plays down the line. And that is also in this book, the Advanced Techniques for Competitive Tennis. There's a lot of diagrams in this book as well, but this one covers the whole book, like diagrams like that one. This book is just entirely diagrams, maybe a little bit of prose. 2 more books here, the Tennis Course Volume 1, Tennis and Tactics, and the Tennis Course Volume 2, Lessons and Something. This is a German Tennis Federation production. Lots of interesting stuff in here, useful, again, not in any of the other books. Despite them having such great information, there's stuff in here that is not in the other books. And this gets into that a lot of the beginner stuff, and the fundamental coordination and speed for young people, or just beginners in this book. And the one thing that this book mentions here, that when you really learn this, you can come up with your own stuff. Like I think of another great coach, Mike Burrell, who did all the play and stay stuff for a while. I'm not sure if he's still popular. But he came up with his whole program that he would go to tennis clubs and sell them his services and set up their program. He's an example of someone who took some stuff like this and just made his own stuff. Because if you're creative, the potential is really limitless on what you can do. And this book is just more exercises that somebody came up with that are fun. Again, you don't have to go through all these exercises to be really good at tennis, but you can just pick some of them. But this is for coaches mostly, because you have to be creative, and you're constantly having to come up with stuff to keep the interest of the players. So these books have just lists of exercises, basic small exercises that you can do. And that is just a giant list to start you off with. You can leave down in the comments if you have some other books that you think are great that I'm not aware of. But these are my top tennis books, and I hope that helps you and you enjoyed this video of my favorite tennis books.